ZeoBoost is one of my favorite products. It's a high quality powdered zeolite. And zeolite is a volcanic mineral. It has a strong negative ionic charge and it binds to those positively charged toxic elements that you just don't want in your body, right? So the heavy metals, the mycotoxins from mold, environmental toxins like glyphosate, it's binding to radioactive isotopes. So those are going to be leftover radiation from CT scans, x-rays, different radioactive materials. It also binds to microbes, right? So viral particles, to yeast, to parasites, to bacteria you don't want in your body. So it has this really broad range binding capacity, and that's why I like it so much. And another aspect about zeolite that makes it a little bit unique compared to some other binders is that it's what they call selective. It's a selective binder, meaning that it's not binding to everything that's positively charged. So for example, there's some minerals in your body that are positively charged that some binders like bentonite clay and other things might bind to. So that's why you don't want to take those things long term. It might deplete some of your mineral stores, so you have to supplement with minerals and so on. Now zeolite, the high quality zeolite in ZeoBoost, does not do that, right? It's selective, it's binding to the toxic elements, but not the positive. And there hasn't been any evidence that it binds to minerals at all. I personally mix fulvic minerals and various minerals in with the ZeoBoost when I take it. It doesn't bind to them, it's fine. But even if the ZeoBoost were to bind to minerals in your body, it would be such a weak bond that right when the zeolite, let's say it captures some minerals in its cage-like structure, and then it travels through and then it finds some mercury or lead or any other toxic element, that toxic element is going to push the mineral right out of that cage-like structure of the zeolite back into circulation. It's going to be reabsorbed. So even if it does bind to minerals, the minerals are going to be eventually reabsorbed in your body. It's going to be okay. The only way you would really get depletion of minerals from ZeoBoost would be if you have zero toxicity in your body, and that's just not the case with anyone we've ever seen. Because in the 21st century, if you're living in the 21st century, which you probably are if you're watching this, then you have to detox. We have so much toxic exposure in the food, water, air, and so forth. So anyway, selective, that makes it really unique. But what I really want to talk about in this video is zeolite dosing, right? So I'm a big fan of powdered zeolite opposed to liquid zeolite. There's a lot of different zeolite companies out there, a lot of different products, but from what we've seen from clinical experience and user feedback, it's really important to focus on two aspects of zeolite supplementation. Those are going to be the two Qs, right? The quality and the quantity. So of course you want a quality product. You want something that's micronized. You want proper particle size. You want it to be clean, so forth. But you also want the right quantity. So the biggest mistake people make when they take supplement is they don't take enough of it, right? So, and it's understandable because we've been trained that, you start low, you work your way up, especially for those people that have sensitivities, that have a really tough time detoxing, that just aren't able to take high doses of anything. What we have found is the opposite is true with ZeoBoost. You actually want to start with the higher dose and you want to work your way down. And it seems counterintuitive, but it works, and there's science that goes into that. I'm not going to get into it in this video. But what we recommend, what we found to be the most effective starting dose for everyone that is looking to detox is 15 grams a day of ZeoBoost. And that's going to be 6 teaspoons, right? And you divide that into 2 or 3 doses throughout the day. So what most people do is they take 2 teaspoons in the morning, 2 teaspoons in the afternoon, and then another 2 teaspoons in the evening. That gives you your 6 teaspoons or 15 grams. Some people do 3 and 3. You can experiment, but 15 grams, 6 teaspoons is what we have found to be the absolute best starting dose. And then from there, you can kind of titrate it, find the ideal dose for you, because everyone's going to be a little bit different, based on weight and so forth. So the people that experience some sort of detox reaction at that 15 grams a day, those are going to be, people sometimes on, the chronic mold illness spectrum, the Lyme disease, EMF sensitivity, mast cell activation, those people, sometimes even at that high dose, they experience a die-off reaction. And what we recommend is that you actually raise the dose. So those people generally, almost every single time when they take that 15 grams, if they get a reaction of some sort, if they double the dose, so they move it to 30 grams, the reaction goes away, and it shocks them every single time because it's the opposite of what they would think would happen. But that's what happens, right? So, and same thing, if it happens with 30 grams, then you add another 15 grams. So you start with 15 grams. If you get a reaction, you go to 30 grams. If you still have a reaction, you go to 45 grams, and that pretty much takes care of it every single time. So 45 grams, and that's a half a jar a day. That's a lot of zeolite. But the more toxic you are, the more you need. And there's a couple of different theories we talk about in the blog of why you need the higher dose. But what you don't want to do, especially if you're a very sensitive person, and by sensitive I mean you often get reactions from various supplements, and you know who I'm talking about. You don't want to start with a low dose, right? So a lot of people like, I have to start with a low dose to see what happens. So they start with, a half of a teaspoon, and that's what it says on the jar. So it confuses people, but you kind of have to put that dose on the jar for FDA purposes, but you can't say 15 grams, that you get in trouble anyway. So you don't want to start with a quarter teaspoon or a pinch or a half teaspoon or even a teaspoon. You can try it, but more often than not, if you're one of those people that likely gets a reaction, you're going to get a reaction from that, right? So let's say if you've taken zeolite supplements before, liquids or other powders from other companies, and you've had a reaction, don't start with that low dose. Start with the higher dose. That is what works for people. Now, if you just, and I know most people are going to watch this, they're not going to believe me, and they're going to start with a low dose anyway. I understand it. I get it. Happens all the time. But it actually works out well because they start with the low dose, they get the reaction, and then they raise the dose and they're great. And they're like, okay, you sold me on it. I know I need the higher dose now. Now, some people, if you don't have those sensitivities, if you're not super toxic, you can start with that lower dose, and usually it's going to be okay. But at that point, we still recommend you do the 15 grams a day because it's going to accelerate your detox, right? Because there's so much to get out of your body, and the zeolite binds to so many different things. And it's different from month to month. That's why it's also unique, because it has a different binding capacities for different metals and different elements. So for example, zeolite in general has a stronger bind to lead, cadmium, arsenic, aluminum than it does for mercury. So you might not get a super strong mercury detox on your first month, or maybe even your first 2 months of zeolite supplementation. It just depends on what else you have in your body. If you have a ton of cadmium and lead and ton of mold and ton of environmental toxins, you might not even start really going after the mercury until month 2 or 3. That's why we recommend at least a 3-month detox with zeolite, because it's a layered approach to detox. You're not getting everything out all at once. It just depends on what the zeolite is binding to, what you have in your body, and it's just going to be unique for everyone. One other thing I want to talk about is particle size, and there's a lot of different claims with different companies on what particle size they're using for their zeolite, and really what we have found to be most effective, once again, is a range, right? A range of particle sizes, because you have some liquid zeolite companies that are boasting super tiny particle sizes, right? They're only under 2 microns. So like just nano-sized zeolite particles under 2 microns, which is fine for getting into hard to reach places in your body. But when you look at zeolite, it's this cage-like structure. It has this honeycomb cage structure. And if the cage is only that big, if you have a toxic element that is over 2 microns, that element's not going to fit in the cage. So you're going to have a very limited detox on what you're going to be able to detox. So that's why we have a range of zeolite particle size. So we have a blend of 2 different sizes within the one product, ZeoBoost. Part of the powder is a mixture of the nano size, right? The small particle sizes ranging from 0 to 8 to 10 microns. So you're going to get those nano size, you're going to get the 2, you're going to get what you're getting in those other products. But it's a range, so don't just have 2, you have 3, you have some 4, you have some 5 microns, some 6, some 7, some 8. So you're getting a little bit of everything. And that's another reason why doing the high dose works well, because you're getting a good dose of all these different micron sizes. And then we have another blend where we're going up to 40 micron. And the higher micron size, those are just gonna go and kind of camp out in your gut and act as a binder. So that also helps reduce the detox reactions, diet symptoms, because you have something kind of sitting there in your gut. So when the other things kind of make their way there, it helps bind to those as well. So we've got this range of 0 to 40, micron, and that's where we're going to be able to bind to toxic elements of all different sizes, opposed to just things under 2 micron or just things over 10 micron. So that's what we found to work the best. It's just a comprehensive approach. It'd be like combining all the other zeolite products on the market with the liquids and the powders, taking all of those and putting them into one product. You're basically going to get ZeoBoost, right? That's what you're getting, and that's why. And the higher dose just once again works great too. So those are a few questions people ask a lot. Another one is, should you eat it with food? Should you take it away from food? We haven't seen a big difference. It's really just whenever you can get it in. A lot of people will take it with food once a day, away from food twice a day. It really doesn't matter. We haven't really seen any difference. It's just whenever you can do it, whenever you can get it in. And don't worry about the mineral depletion. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, it's going to be okay. Now, it's always a good idea to supplement with minerals as well, just because we're generally deficient in this day and time. Now, zeolite on its own can raise mineral levels, because when you have these metals clogging up your cells, the minerals are being pushed out, because metals and minerals compete for space in your cells. So when you're removing these toxic elements like the metals from your cells, it's allowing minerals to absorb more effectively. So just the zeolite alone is almost like taking a mineral supplement. But if you can take those two together, it works really well, because it's in with the good, out with the bad, right? You're out with the bad, and then when you put it in, when you put the minerals in, then it's kind of a two-step approach. I really like it. So that's good. But there's just a few things I wanted to talk about with the ZeoBoost. It's a great product. Like I said, my number one encouragement, piece of advice is just to start with the higher dose, right? Because a lot of people start with the 1 jar, and it's fine. You know, they want to test the waters, try it out, but they always end up, you know, within a week ordering a 5-pack or a 10-pack, because, and then, you know, they like email and say, how fast can you get this to me? Because they don't want to run out, right? So then they end up buying just these higher packs. But so I'd start with at least a 5-pack. That's what I'd recommend. Give it a month. 5-pack lasts for 30 days at that dose. So if you want to try that accelerated dose of 15 grams a day or 6 teaspoons, the 5-pack is a 30-day supply at that dose. The 10-pack is a 60-day supply, and a 15-pack is a 90-day supply. So if you want to go ahead and just commit to a 90-day supply, just get the 15-pack. It's going to save you some money. It's a value pack, so you're saving a decent amount of money per jar of ZeoBoost. We're trying to make it as affordable as possible, because we know it gets can get expensive at that higher dose. So anyway, feel free to reach out with any questions, and let us know how it works for you. And happy detoxing.